My wife recently told me she likes women. I asked if she was gay or bisexual and she said she thought probably bisexual. Yesterday she went to therapy and came back home visibly emotional. She sat me down and told me she'd uncovered some deeply buried sexual trauma during her session. As a result, she said she didn't think she could have sex with me for the time being. I understood and reassured her that I supported her journey of healing. I wanted to be patient and give her the space she needed to process everything. I felt empathetic toward her struggle, even though I was unsure how to navigate this new development in our relationship. But today everything changed. While using her laptop, I came across her messages with a female friend she has overseas. At first, I didn't think much of it, but then I saw the nature of their conversations. For the last 6 months, they've been exchanging explicit messages, sending nudes, having phone sex, and masturbating together. They've even been confessing their love for each other, all while discussing how terrible their husbands are. It was like a punch to the gut. Reading those messages shattered me. The betrayal felt unbearable. She'd presented herself as someone deeply vulnerable, working through trauma, while simultaneously engaging in an emotional and physical affair behind my back. I felt blindsided and deeply humiliated. It wasn't just about the affair, it was the lies, the manipulation, and the complete disregard for our relationship. At first, I was utterly devastated. My world felt like it had been turned upside down. But as the hours passed, my sadness was replaced by anger, an all-consuming fury at her betrayal and deceit. I don't even feel sad right now. I'm just livid. I can't believe the person I've loved and trusted could do this to me. I've decided that tonight I'm going to confront her. I need to hear her explanation, although I doubt anything she says will change how I feel. I plan to give her one more chance to come clean, to be completely honest about what's been going on. I need to know if she has any intention of salvaging what's left of our marriage or if this relationship has already run its course. I don't know what will happen next, but I do know that I can't continue living like this, with lies, betrayal, and the complete breakdown of trust. Tonight will be a turning point one way or another. I confronted her last night. She admitted to everything, every message, every call, every act of betrayal. I'm beyond furious. It feels like my anger has surpassed its limits, yet I somehow managed to keep my cool during the entire conversation. I wanted to scream, cry, and let all my emotions pour out, but I held it in. I needed answers, not chaos, though I'm not sure I got anything meaningful in return. When faced with the reality of what she's done, she shut down. She barely spoke, offering no explanations or justifications. She admitted to the affair but seemed incapable of expressing the depth of her understanding, or lack thereof, of the damage she's caused. She asked if I would go to therapy with her, and while part of me wants to believe that's a step toward repair, another part questions if it's just an attempt to delay the inevitable. I asked her if she truly understands the magnitude of her actions, if she realizes what this means for our family, for all of our lives. She said she does, but she couldn't articulate it. Her silence felt more like avoidance than genuine reflection. I pressed her on what this would mean for our son, for our marriage, and even for the logistics of her relationship with this woman, who also has her own family. Neither of them would be able to take their kids to live in another country, so what exactly is their endgame? Are they ready to throw everything away for this? She seemed unsure, like she hadn't thought that far ahead. Maybe she and this woman are prepared to deal with the fallout, or maybe they're deluded into thinking they can have it all without consequences. I honestly don't know, and that uncertainty is maddening. If I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry. This is all so much to process and my mind is a mess right now. We've been together for 8 years, married for 4, and we have a 4-year-old son. Our family has been the center of my world, and now it feels like it's crumbling around me. I keep asking myself how we got here, how the person I loved and trusted could betray me like this, and if there's anything left to salvage. Right now, I'm stuck between anger, heartbreak, and a desperate need for clarity. Therapy might provide answers, but I don't know if I even want to sit in a room and hash this out. Part of me wonders if it's worth the effort or if this is already over. For now, I'm just trying to hold it together for our son and figure out what the next step should be. Last week, I finally let out a lot of the emotions I'd been bottling up for so long. I broke down and cried, something I hadn't allowed myself to do in a while. I told her that I was scared she might eventually run off with one of her female friends, that I'd lose her to someone else. It was a raw moment for me and it felt like I couldn't hold back the fear and sadness anymore. I needed to say it out loud even if it was painful. I thought maybe I'd get some reassurance, but deep down I wasn't sure if that was even possible. After her therapy session yesterday, we had another big conversation last night. It was long, emotionally charged and full of tears, on both sides. There was no yelling, but the tears were endless. This was probably the most we've ever talked about everything, especially when it comes to the emotional side of what's been happening. She's always had trouble talking about anything that touches on deep emotions, so this conversation felt like a breakthrough in some ways, even if it was incredibly painful for both of us. It's a huge step, but I can't deny how overwhelming it all feels. During the conversation, we discussed the sexual trauma she's been dealing with. A few days ago, I mentioned to her that she's always been quite passive when it comes to sex. I'd made peace with this early on in our relationship, accepting that I was the one who often initiated things. There have been a few rare moments where she made the move, but most of the time, it's me taking the lead. I never minded, and in fact the sex has always been good between us. She's always enjoyed it, and even last night she said the physical side of sex with me has always been satisfying for her. But as we continued talking, it became clear that the issue isn't just physical, it's deeply emotional. She explained that she's been conditioned her whole life to believe certain things about sexuality. She was taught that boys like girls and do mean things to them when they're kids because they like them. As she got older, she heard the same story repeated, that boys chase girls, kiss them, and try to woo them to become boyfriends or girlfriends. This kind of narrative was ingrained in her from a young age, and she said it shaped the way she viewed relationships and sex. It sounds like there are things from her past, particularly past relationships, that she's kept hidden away, sexual experiences that she's never really dealt with and that have been buried in her memory for years. Yesterday, it felt like some of that was unlocked for the first time. I can see that this situation is more complicated and sensitive than I ever imagined. I've always known there were deeper emotional issues she hadn't fully opened up about, but now it's clear that this hidden trauma has been affecting her in ways I didn't realize. I'm heartbroken for her, knowing that these experiences have shaped her in such a profound way. At the same time, it's hard to reconcile my own pain and the betrayal with the empathy I feel for her right now. I'm struggling to understand how to balance the emotional weight of her past with the reality of the betrayal that's happening in the present. I'm trying my best to be supportive and helpful as she works through this, though I'm not entirely sure how to help her through something so complex. I hope that with time, therapy, and more open communication she can process these feelings, and maybe we can start healing together. But right now it feels like so much is up in the air and I'm still trying to make sense of everything. It's hard to hold on to hope when so much seems so uncertain, but I'm doing my best to stay present and support her in the way she needs. I just hope that, somehow, we can find a way to move forward, whether together or apart. In terms of the sexuality aspect, everything feels incredibly hard and confusing for me right now. There's this lingering question in the back of my mind, is she going to end up coming out as a lesbian? I don't know, and that uncertainty is weighing heavily on me. If that turns out to be the case, it would mean completely different scenarios for our family, and I'm already mentally running through all the potential outcomes. I want her to find peace and happiness, truly, but this unknown future is so difficult to process, especially when I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything she's shared with me. She's been very open with me about how confused she feels. She admits that all of this is new to her and that she's still figuring things out. I understand that, but at the same time, I'm grappling with my own feelings about where this is heading. I'm doing my best to support her and give her space to explore what she needs, but I also need peace and happiness in my life. Our son is my number one priority no matter what happens, and I have to keep that in mind as we navigate this. At the moment, she identifies as bisexual, and I've told her that I'm willing to accept whatever changes we need to make to our relationship if she feels she needs to experiment or explore that side of herself. She has been very clear with me that she will communicate with me before making any decisions that will impact me or our son. That gives me some sense of security, but there's still so much uncertainty around all of this. She hasn't experimented with women yet, but I've noticed she's been making changes in her appearance and has started following a lot of LGBTQ+ content on TikTok. That feels significant, and it's hard not to think about what that could mean for our future. On top of everything else, she recently started wondering if she might have undiagnosed autism. This is something she's been exploring recently, and it adds another layer to the complexities of what we're dealing with. I'm trying really hard to see things from her perspective, to be supportive and understanding as she works through these revelations. But honestly, I'm also feeling incredibly scared for what the future holds. Last night, she looked at our wedding photo and started crying. She said that the woman in the picture didn't look like her true self. That hit me hard. It's incredibly difficult to hear, especially when I still hold on to the memories of the person I thought I knew so well. To make matters even more complicated, we've just bought a new house. We haven't even moved in yet, and now everything feels uncertain. I thought we were about to start this new chapter in our lives, and now it feels like the ground is shifting beneath my feet. The timing couldn't be worse. Through all of this, I really believe I'm trying my best. I've been as calm and understanding as I possibly can. My wife says I've been about as cool as she could have hoped for, and I want to believe that's true. I do think she loves me, but I'm not sure where this is all going. I've asked her to try and make this work as much as we can, to take things slow, to give us both time to process everything. I've told her that if she feels the need to explore anything further, I'm open to talking about it and working through it together. At this stage, I'm willing to consider almost anything, but it's hard not to feel a sense of loss. I don't know what's going to happen next, and the weight of that is overwhelming. Through all of this, our son is my constant priority. He needs stability, he needs security, and I need to be strong for him. I'm crying a lot lately, and it's hard to keep it together some days. To make matters worse, I'm currently out of work, so I'm struggling financially as well, which only compounds everything I'm dealing with emotionally. Every day feels like a battle, and it's hard not to let my mind spiral into thoughts about the future. There's so much uncertainty and pain, and it's really hard to not feel lost in all of it. I just keep holding on to the hope that we can figure this out, that we can find a way to make it work, whatever that looks like. But right now it feels like I'm living in a constant state of anxiety and heartache. I don't have all the answers, and I'm not sure if I ever will, but I'm trying to do what's best for me, for her, and most importantly for our son. We really struggled to have a kid, IVF, miscarriages, etc., and my wife experienced postnatal depression. She has struggled with being a parent, particularly with an energetic little dude. She even told me last night that she regrets having a kid. He's the smartest, sweetest boy, and it just breaks my heart to hear that from her. Obviously my instinct is to fight for my family. I love my wife and I love my son, and all I ever wanted was to have a happy family and give my son the loving two-parent home that a kid deserves. But I also accept that not everything is in my hands. I'm scared and confused. In a way, I feel a sense of betrayal and loss. I feel very alone in this moment. This is all new to me as well. I'm reaching out for help or advice just to get through the next few days, weeks, and months. I've had to call a helpline a few times in the past couple of days just because I feel like I've been smashed in the side of the head with a baseball bat. I love my wife and I've had a very hard few days. He posted an update on next day. I posted earlier today, and things have been developing so quickly since then. I found all of their messages, everything. Nudes, selfies while masturbating, talking badly about me and the other husband, discussing how they were going to get away with their affair. It's all there in black and white. The other woman lives in America while we don't, so the whole thing just feels even more surreal. Feels like a cruel joke, one that I'm stuck in. Tonight, I finally confronted my wife. I had to. I couldn't keep living in this cloud of confusion and hurt. I told her how, despite everything, I had always been 100% committed to trying to make things work since she came out to me and admitted that she liked girls. I told her that I had her back through it all, that I was trying to support her in this process of figuring herself out, even if it was painful for me. I even went as far as saying that as late as last night, she told me she loved me and that we could try to make it work. She said she wanted to try. But then, I had to ask the question that was burning in my chest. How am I supposed to make sense of everything she said to me when I discovered she's been cheating with this other woman online? How can I reconcile the words she said with what I found in those messages? I told her I'd seen everything, the photos, the explicit conversations, the flirtation, the deep and meaningful talks. I saw how the other woman was encouraging my wife to leave me, telling her to take the opportunity to be with her, and even wishing harm on me to make it easier for my wife to leave. The fact that she was encouraging this behavior, leading my wife down a path of deception, was one of the hardest things for me to process. In that moment, I wasn't even sure what to feel. I wasn't angry in the way I expected. I think I was just in complete disbelief. How could this happen? How could she betray me in such a deep, intimate way? It felt like everything I had believed in and hoped for, everything I thought we were building together, was being ripped apart in front of my eyes. And the worst part is, I can't even point to any one moment that would explain it. There's no clear reason why she did this, at least none that makes sense to me right now. As we talked, I could see the guilt and shame in her eyes, but it didn't make it any easier for me to process. She tried to explain herself, tried to make excuses, but I was done listening to those. How could I listen to anything she said after seeing all of this? How could I trust her again after knowing what she's done behind my back, after knowing how she's been feeding into this affair, possibly even plotting her escape from me while I've been pouring my heart into trying to understand her and support her? I don't know what to do anymore. I'm lost. Everything is up in the air now. I love her, but I don't know if that's enough to make this work. What am I supposed to do with all of this? The damage feels so deep, and I'm not sure I can recover from this kind of betrayal. What do I do now with all this knowledge, this broken trust, this pain? And what about our life together, our home, our future? How can I ever go back to the way things were when everything has changed so drastically? Then, in the midst of everything, I told her that I wanted to tell the other woman's husband. He has every right to know what's been going on, just as I had the right to know what she had been doing behind my back. I couldn't keep this secret, not when it involved his life and his family as well. It felt like the right thing to do, but also, I knew it would cause so much pain for him. I didn't want to hurt him, but at the same time, I couldn't sit by and allow this betrayal to go unacknowledged. I told my wife how deeply hurt I felt. I told her that I feel like I've given her the best years of my life, years that were filled with love, commitment, and overcoming monumental struggles together. We fought through IVF and miscarriage to have our son, and I believed we were in this together. Yet, she went behind my back and betrayed me in a way that I wouldn't even wish on my worst enemy. It felt so cruel, so thoughtless, and it shattered everything I thought we had built together. I felt completely blindsided by her actions, and the depth of the betrayal was almost too much to bear. How could someone who had shared all of these intimate struggles with me, who I thought I could trust with everything, turn around and do this? I told her that, in all of this, I felt incredibly alone. It's as if I've been the only one fighting for our family, for our son's best interests, while she's been doing something completely different. I feel like I've been carrying the weight of our entire life together, trying to make everything work, trying to stay strong for all of us, while she's been leading a separate life without any regard for the consequences. It's exhausting and I'm so tired. I'm the one who hasn't done anything wrong, but I'm the one who's left picking up the pieces. I'm the one who's left to figure out what happens next, and that feels so unfair. I told her that our son is really the only thing keeping me going right now. If it weren't for him, I honestly don't know how I would be coping with all of this. He's the one bright spot in all this chaos, the one thing that gives me a reason to keep going each day. He deserves better than all of this, and I'm going to make sure that he has the best life possible, regardless of what happens between his mother and me. He's innocent and I want him to feel safe and loved, and that's the driving force behind everything I do now. I said a lot in that conversation, some of it with a calm voice, some of it in a way that I couldn't contain my emotions. The anger, the sadness, the feeling of betrayal, it was all there, all bubbling to the surface. And I could see her reacting to it, but at the same time, I wasn't sure what she was feeling. Was she sorry? Was she regretful? I didn't know. What I did know was that I couldn't continue pretending that everything was fine when nothing felt fine at all. I couldn't keep pretending that our future together was intact when it was clear that everything had changed. The trust was gone. The foundation we built on was cracked. I don't know where we go from here, but the road ahead seems so much more uncertain than it ever did before. She told me that she's a terrible person, that it all just happened and wasn't planned. She said she thinks she's a lesbian. She said she doesn't want to continue with me. I asked how she knows when she hasn't even done anything in reality. I asked if she had really considered what she is throwing away. Has she thought about the impossibility of both of them living in the same country with their children? She said she had thought about it but doesn't know the answers. She said maybe I should go see her therapist with her. I asked her that she just really gives everything a long hard think. This isn't a little fantasy anymore and there's more than us at stake here. She's got a son, a house and a relationship that has overcome many things already. And she is looking at giving it up for what isn't even a relationship, but fling with a married woman. We didn't come to any definite conclusions. But I certainly shocked her when I told her I knew everything. She told me later she felt totally bamboozled. I feel a lot better at least. I was able to have some power rather than chasing for everything. I know my wife has already messaged the other woman and told her I intend to tell her husband. This other woman doesn't want me to do that. The two women have been planning to rendezvous in my country in November. I'm thinking I will tell her the only way I don't tell her husband is if she cancels the trip. What should I do? Let's read some comments. First comment was, "It all just happened. Bullshit, this has been going on for over 6 months. She is a liar. So treat everything she says as a flat-out lie. Protect yourself and your kid. Fuck the other woman. She does not get to say what you do. Copy everything, lawyer and divorce." Second comment was, "You can't control other people's actions. She doesn't want to be with you. What are you going to do, drag her kicking and screaming in this marriage for the rest of her life? And you say that your kid is the only thing keeping her going. Staying in a loveless marriage with this degree of disregard will destroy him. This will calibrate what normal looks like and it will mess him up. You were petulant and immature to confront her. You should have discussed with an attorney. You need to make quick moves to protect yourself and your son." He replied to second comments, "It doesn't work like that in my country. We have no fault divorce laws." Third comment was, "I know this is a completely cynical and unhelpful take, so I apologize in advance for that, But what are the odds she's been brainwashed by internet rabbit holes and algorithms and diagnosed/convinced herself of a bunch of random stuff from TikTok, and once she tries out the woman thing, realizes it's actually not for her and then comes crawling back? Very sorry you're going through this, OP. It's hard to comprehend how selfish she is being. You're a good dude and a great dad. Also fuck it, absolutely tell the other husband. He deserves to know, and the woman grooming your wife away deserves everything coming to her. He replied to third comment is, I feel it's quite likely that is what has happened, but unfortunately I can't do much other than tell her what she's going to lose. Fourth comment was, what's it matter if you tell her husband? She planning on leaving him for your wife anyway. What you need to do is make it as difficult as possible for her to ever leave the country with you, son. Concentrate on your future and what is best for you. Divorce is probably best, but that is your choice. He replied to fourth comment is, telling her husband might make it pretty difficult for her to come to my country. Thank you for listening the story to the end. If you enjoy our videos, so don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Have a good day, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do it and hit the notification bell icon to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.